Tonight on To The Point, honoring Officer Osmar Rodarte.
It's sad, and he's so young.
This is something that should have never happened.
The community here in Marysville is in mourning, but staying united. How the residents here showed up today to support one another during this difficult time.
This as new details into the investigation emerge, what we're learning about a potential suspect and the officer's death. Thank you for joining us on To The Point. I'm Becca Habiger in for Alex Bell. Tonight, the community is mourning the loss of Marysville police officer Osmar Rodarte. This morning, a procession was held for the fallen officer who was shot and killed yesterday while serving a search warrant in Olivehurst. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen was at that procession and shares with us the messages people had for the officer and his loved one.
Just a day after Officer Rodarte was killed, hundreds of people came to Marysville here to pay their respects, many of them holding up flags like this one here to show their love and support during the procession.
This has really rattled the community. This is something that should have never happened.
Disgusted by the violence, Bill Olar says it was important for him to show up to honor the life of Marysville police officer Osmar Rodarte Thursday morning. The procession started at the Lakeside Colonial Chapel and ended at a morgue in Roseville.
I woke up this morning and I said I'm going to take my flag and I'm going to go down there and I'm going to pay my respects to that officer and let them know that we care about this, and hopefully, with God's help, this will never happen again.
As a longtime Yuba City resident, Andrea Quintana had a hard time recalling the last time an officer died so close to her community.
I can't remember a time like this when one of our officers, that this happened, and it's sad. It's sad, and it's he's so young.
Officer Rodarte was shot and killed while serving a search warrant in Olivehurst that was part of a years-long investigation into a drug trafficking operation. His death marks the first line-of-duty death in more than a century for the Marysville Police Department. For Barbara Overton, she says this hits too close to home.
I'm here to support the officer that passed away, and my daughter and her wife, they both work with the officer. You just never know when they leave in the morning.
A community in pain, but staying united as they try to heal, hoping this never happens again. In Marysville, Jeannie Nguyen, ABC 10.
Officer Rodarte graduated from the Sacramento Police Academy in June of 2022. Sacramento police say he exemplified the definition of a hero. President Donald Trump's administration released a statement today saying, quote, "The president, first lady, and the entire administration are deeply saddened by the tragic death of Officer Rodarte. He exemplified the best among us, not only as a law enforcement officer, but also as a veteran, and most importantly, as a loving husband and father. The president will always stand by the men and women of our law enforcement community and hold dangerous criminals accountable." We're learning new details tonight about the investigation into the deadly shooting of Officer Rodarte. ABC 10's Garjpal Sangha joins us live from Marysville Police Department with the latest. Garjpal.
Yeah, Becca, the investigation continues and the community continuing to come here at the Marysville Police Department to honor the officer. And we're told this was his patrol vehicle that is parked outside of the headquarters here. You can see people leaving signs, flowers, just honoring the legacy of Officer Rodarte. Now, the community is in mourning, and so is the neighborhood where this incident took place. The home where it happened is sealed off, and many people living nearby not wanting to talk at this time as the incident has shaken their sense of security. Now, the Yuba County Sheriff's Office says the suspect who was killed during the gunfire exchange was 60-year-old Rick David Oliver, and this is him on your screen. Law enforcement officials say Oliver was killed in the shootout with law enforcement while they were serving a search warrant in a connection with the years-long investigation into transnational drug trafficking operation, specifically meth and fentanyl being moved from Mexico into the U.S. His criminal history includes unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor and fleeing to Nevada, where he was rearrested. And we're still working to find out what this entire operation consisted of. We have heard from the Butte County Sheriff's Office and their operation there. They tell us 6 arrests have been made in Butte and Tehama counties. But back out here live, both investigations are working through this difficult time as the community continues to mourn. But this is a much bigger memorial than it was yesterday, and people just slowly trying to process through this difficult time. Reporting live from the Marysville Police Department, Garsh Paul Sunga, ABC 10.
Garsh Paul, thank you so much. Well, in other news, a jury returned a death penalty sentence today for the man convicted in the 2019 murder of Sacramento police officer Tara O'Sullivan. Adele Ramos was found guilty of killing O'Sullivan while he was responding to a domestic disturbance call. We'll learn more about details about his sentencing after a hearing set for April 18th. Now, today, the U.S. Department of Education revoked waivers to California colleges and universities that are using federal funds through what's called the P3 program. Now, this program allows states to use the funding to improve systems serving disconnected youth. According to the Department of Education, through P3, waivers approved during the Biden administration, colleges and universities in California and Oregon were able to divert taxpayer-funded program services meant for low-income students, first-generation college students, and people with disabilities to undocumented immigrants. And the U.S. Department of Education is also separately investigating the California Department of Education over alleged violations of what's called the Family Educational Rights Privacy Act, or FERPA. You might have heard it referred to. It gives parents the right to access their child's education data. The Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education, says California is violating FERPA through a new California law prohibiting school employees from disclosing a child's gender identity to their parents. Now, the law was passed in response to several school board policies that wanted to require teachers and staff to notify parents if a student identifies as a different gender than what's on school records. And still ahead on To the Point, a major shakeup. The government planning to cut more than 10,000 jobs at the nation's top health agencies.
Few raindrops out there this afternoon, but still tracking a bigger system on the way for next week. Forecast on the way after the break.
Plus, a family fighting to get their loved one out of ICE custody after she was detained on a misdemeanor conviction. Tonight, an attorney weighs in on why more cases like this are happening across the country.
The law hasn't changed, but the implementation of if somebody's deportable, we will issue them a notice to appear. And if we can detain them, we will detain them.
Meteorologist Brendan Minchep joined us now. Brendan, we're heading into a weather alert coming up.
Yes, weather impact alert for the Sierra, but also one widespread for the entire region by the time we get to the middle of next week. But we'll get to that in a second. Right now, take a look at radar and satellite. We've had a few raindrops out there, but really not much in the way of rain in the valley. A few hundredths of an inch across some places. That is about it. We have had some snow, though, in the high country for a little bit this afternoon. Snow was sticking to the road up at Donner's Summit. But as we look at the cameras across the Sierra now, whatever we see up there at this point is rain. And even US 50 at Echo Summit is mostly clear right now, seeing a little bit of sun. So off and on snow showers will continue through tomorrow, but it'll be a little stronger, and we'll see that on Futurecast. Temperature-wise, it is a little cool out there, upper 50s and low 60s in the valley, 40s and 50s in the foothills at the moment. Friday morning, there's going to be some highly scattered light showers out there. Temperature is going to be near 50 in the valley, 40s in the foothills, and near freezing up in the high country. Friday afternoon, we're going to continue with those highly scattered light showers in the valley. Temperatures in those middle 60s. 50s in the foothills, 40s in the high country. So here's Futurecast. Off and on snow, winter weather advisory continues, and that off and on snow chance continues through tomorrow. It's not going to snow all day Friday. It'll kind of be on and off, lighter at times, a little more moderate at others, but you also notice those highly scattered showers in the valley as well. By the time we get to Saturday, precipitation tapers off, and that'll be the break in the rain and the snow before the next system arrives. In terms of total snowfall through Friday, only looking at about 6 inches max on somewhere like Interstate 80. But there's two more weather impact alerts, one for the Sierra Sunday and Monday, but then one across the region on Wednesday, which could bring with it a pretty strong atmospheric river. So as we look at the AR tracker, here's system number 2, Sunday and Monday, system number 3 that comes in by midweek. But notice that atmospheric river is pointed to the central part of the state, and then also with some impacts down in Southern California. But this has been in flux, and it continues to change. So all I got to say is be sure to stay with us. We do have weather impact alerts for next week for the Valley and Sierra, but we're going to continue to see snow and some light showers today and Sunday, Monday.
Brendan, thank you so much. Well, next on To The Point, a family calling for the release of their loved one legally in the U.S. for 50 years, but now in ICE custody, why she was detained, and the concerns for other green card holders traveling out of the country. Plus, more federal workforce cuts. The health agencies expected to lay off thousands of people as part of a restructuring plan.
Our free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app has so much to offer. Get your news live and on demand 24/7 so you can watch the news when you want. There's breaking news, extended forecast, and so much more. We have everything you need to get through your day and ready for the weekend. We've got you covered on money-saving tips, travel, entertainment, and sports. Download the free ABC 10 Plus app on your smart TV and popular streaming devices like Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and more. ABC 10. We stand for you 24/7.
Tonight, the Trump administration is announcing major cuts at the country's health agencies, including the FDA, CDC, and Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. today said more than 10,000 jobs will be cut. And those new jobs are in addition to the 10,000 people who already left all the health agencies after taking buyouts or retirement under DOGE. Kennedy came into the department with 82,000 employees and a $1.7 trillion budget dealing with everything from drug approvals and food recalls to responding to the next pandemic. Kennedy says there is a duplication of duties within the agency.
Going to eliminate an entire alphabet soup of departments and agencies while preserving their core functions by merging them into a new organization called the Administration for a Healthy America, or AHA.
If all his cuts are implemented, HHS will have slashed about 1/4 of its total workforce and saved $2 billion. Kennedy has pledged no critical functions will be impacted. President Trump today announced he's withdrawing Representative Elise Stefanik's nomination to be U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Her confirmation has been stalled for months over concerns about Republicans' tight margins in the House. The loss of a handful of seats could swing the House majority to Democrats, potentially derailing Trump's agenda. There are 2 special elections in Florida coming up next week that could also change the already slim majority. Well, tonight, the family of a University of Washington lab technician is fighting to get her out of ICE custody. They say she has been a green card holder for the past 50 years, but was arrested last month at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. With tougher immigration policies in Washington, more cases like this are popping up across the country. Tonight, Sharon Yu from our sister station explains why Dixon was taken into custody despite her status as a permanent U.S. resident.
Llewellyn Dixon's flight home to the Philippines was supposed to be routine.
She flew to the Philippines last year, and we actually flew to Turkey as well. No problem.
Lonnie Madriaga is Dixon's niece. She says her sister was with Dixon at SeaTac last month when they returned home.
She waited an hour, and then 2 hours passed by, 3 hours passed by, and we're like, whoa, something is wrong.
Eventually, they got a call. Dixon was detained at the Northwest ICE processing facility in Tacoma. Alex Reby is an immigration attorney with the firm representing Dixon. Reby says what's happening to Dixon isn't illegal, but would have been considered highly unusual in previous administrations.
The law hasn't changed, but the implementation of if somebody's deportable, we will issue them a notice to appear. And if we can detain them, we will detain them. I think that has certainly been the case in what we've been seeing.
The tripping point? A 2001 conviction in a bank embezzlement case, a non-violent misdemeanor charge for someone who has lived here for 50 years. Dixon came to the United States at the age of 14 in 1974.
It's the removal proceedings, but it's really the detention that's the harder pill to swallow, because otherwise she could have just applied for relief from removal for which she's eligible on a non-detained setting.
Dixon didn't have issues traveling and returning before. Madriaga says, had she known about the 2001 conviction,
There is no way I would have allowed her to fly.
Dixon will remain in ICE custody until her next hearing in July. Her attorney advises if you or someone you know is a green card holder who has any sort of conviction, no matter how small, see an attorney before traveling outside of the country. Well, next on To the Point, Champions of Hope meet a Sacramento man helping to return lost items to people in our community. Look, we know that in news, stories are often filled with challenges and hardships, but incredible things are happening every day, from neighbors helping neighbors to inspiring acts of kindness. So each week in our segment, Champions of Hope, we're sharing stories about people making a difference, reminding all of us about the power of community. Tonight, To the Point host Alex Bell introduces us to a familiar face on the American River who might have found your phone or keys.
The American River is beautiful. You come out in this river, it is therapy for the mind. You can let the rest of the world go. And this particular spot is right where most of the people who enjoy the river, this is where they launch their rafts from.
A place of adventure during hot summer days. It's also a place where Carl Bly finds all the stuff people drop in the river. Cash, fishing poles, and lots of phones.
If somebody brings it out here on the river, they're going to lose it eventually, and we're going to find it eventually.
What started as a hobby turned into his own adventure. In 2017, he created American River Lost and Found, connecting divers and people with their lost stuff.
I have to be honest, it's an addiction. It is super fun to find things, and it's even more fun, it's the next level of fun to then find the owner of the things you find.
And it all started with...
My father is a treasure hunter, plain and simple. My father got me and my brothers and sisters into diving when we were all young, and we spent most every weekend out here on this river back in the 1970s. We would look for treasures. So my dad was really the inspiration. My father, when he found things with a name on it, he would go through the phone book and call people with the same last name, and he would take out a classified ad in the paper, and he was able to return a few things that way. Piles of sunglasses, like prescription glasses.
Carl now creating...
This box is just some of the prescription glasses, yes. And, you know, we try to return these as well.
A collection of his own.
This is all of your treasure.
Yes.
Things I have to say are pretty unique. I mean, you still see people's lanyards on them. That's just incredible.
What started as a childhood adventure alongside his dad, becoming a meaningful way to connect with the community.
Lisa, if you're looking for your keys, they're right here.
I think one of the most unique things that I was not expecting to find out here were so many drones.
This drone, really would like to return this drone, and it had a memory card in there with some video, one tight shot of the owner, so we can definitely identify the owner if he knew that we had it. So that's the key. I have returned dentures before, believe it or not. It has happened. It's some conversation pieces.
Sharing his finds with over 25,000 followers on Facebook alone.
I personally find close to 100 phones a year, and other divers give me other phones to return. And last year, with the help of one particular diver, we found 157 cell phones.
In 1 year?
In 1 year.
You have a lot of stuff. Why keep it?
That's exactly what my wife says. Why keep it? But I can wind up donating most of it. I'm always hopeful that we'll be able to return them someday. Every now and then I get a message saying, hey, you know, I know it's a long shot, but 4 years ago I lost the phone. It's so gratifying to return stuff. I can't tell you how many countless stories of people that tell me, you know, my loved ones' last videos are on this phone and I lost them, and I can't tell you how much it means to us, you know, that we returned the phone. I found a prosthetic leg one day, and I had posted about it right after I found it. It practically went viral, the post did, and by the next morning, I had made contact with the person.
But there are a few treasures he's hoping someone will recognize.
If you know anybody who lost a ring just like this one, then I'd sure like to return it.
Sometimes his adventures turn into rescues.
You guys deserve a medal. You just saved my life, actually.
Through every dive and every item returned, he's not just finding lost stuff.
He would love it, being able to find things and return them.
He's keeping his father's legacy alive in the currents of the river they both loved.
When I'm out here on the river, I have distinct memories of my father finding certain things in certain places in the river, and I can still hear his voice yelling out, you know, there's a gold dredge down here in the water. I remember that one. It was just right down the way here. Spending time on this river, I feel like I'm still spending time with him.
Well, we know there are so many more stories waiting to be told. So if you know someone making a difference, we'd love to hear about it. Please share a story by emailing us at tothepoint@abc10.com. Together, we can keep spreading positivity one story at a time. Well, thanks so much for joining us, watching the show, and inviting us into your home. And remember, To The Point doesn't end here. To watch stories featured on the show, you can download our free ABC 10 Plus streaming app to your TV. Have a great and safe night.